Good morning, everyone. My name is Javante McIntosh. Today, we will be looking at how to log into Expensify, entering an expense, and creating and submitting a report for approval. So bear with me while I share my screen. So the first thing we want to do is make sure we enter that email address or phone number associated with the Expensify account. In this case, this would be my vegan email address. Once you enter your credentials, you're going to click on Next. That will send a magic code to your inbox or to your cell phone, depending on what is being used to access the Expensify website. So in this case, it's my email address. And so I just received the magic code. So I'll hit submit or sign in. Perfect. So once you sign in, Expensify automatically takes you directly to the inbox. As you see right here, you'll see a list of notification and things that may or may not be important. So some things might be a hello notification, as well as some things might be actionable. So the first thing we want to make sure that we do is navigate to the top left of our screen where our login credential is listed. And then we're going to click on the drop down arrow. The purpose of this is to ensure that we've selected the correct Expensify policy. In this case, it's vegan medical management. You want to make sure you default to that. In some cases, it may default to your personal expense, but we want to make sure that we always select vegan medical management. After which, we are going to navigate to expense. Here you will notice that there are several things happening on this dashboard. These are expenses that are listed or expenses that have been pulled in automatically once there is a credit card purchase being made with one of the company's corporate credit card. So the respectable people would have to go in and create reports and add these expenses to that. But we are going to be looking at how to manually add these expenses and create reports. So we'll just move on for right now. So we're going to navigate over to new expense, and that's listed at the top right corner of your screen, highlighted in green. And you're going to navigate down to manually create. Perfect. Now, this particular dialog box is where we enter information from or a receipt that we want to add as expense. So I have two example receipts here. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the first one. So the first receipt, I'm gonna just open that up so you can see what it looks like. It is a Burger King receipt. And this is what it looks like. All right. Wonderful. Now, again, this is a test receipt. As you can see, the date is a little dated. For the purpose of our example, we're gonna enter some information. So the merchant's name is Burger King, so we're gonna enter that. And notice once you start typing, it auto-populates so that it makes it easier for you to find the merchant. And so in this case, we are going to put the total on the receipt, which is $15.17. All right. Now, the next step is to select the appropriate radio button here, which is reimbursable or billable, and it could be both. In this case, we're going to say for this particular example, it is reimbursable and not billable. We're saying it's reimbursable because this was from your personal account and not from a company's card or a company's payment method. And in this particular case, we're going to select the category. You want to make sure you select the right category. Here we go, travel meals. Now, let's say this particular receipt, you paid for lunch for you and a colleague, then you could make sure you list the appropriate individual here. You start by typing their name, it will populate your email and you select, and or you scroll through the list and select that particular person. In this case, in this example, I'm just going to say I was the only attendee. And now where it says cruise line and vessel, we are going to assume that this wasn't any travel meal related to any of our clients, but more so related to the company. So we're going to default to Beacon OPEX. And then here in the description, I'm just going to put test for just the purpose of the example. And now we are going to add, let me just one step back. Over here on the right, where you see the little plus icon here, that's what you're going to select. And then to the left of your screen, you're going to click on that green radio button that says import from computer. You're going to find the necessary file. For me, I saved it here. Select, and it automatically imports. There we go. Now the last thing we want to do is hit save. And then you notice where it is listed here. It's categorized, it's tagged, and there's also a description. So we're gonna go ahead and add another example. So let's go back to new expense. Green radio button over on the right of your screen. Click on manually create. Now for this particular example, I have another sample receipt. This is a Staples receipt. There we go. Wonderful. So we're going to enter the data from this particular receipt to Expensify. There we go. Now, what's also important to note is in the date of the receipt, you want to make sure that you enter the date as it's written on the receipt. Because if you don't, the system is going to return a violation error. Now, in this particular example, it won't allow me because the date is obviously too far back. Or maybe I'm typing it incorrectly. Let's do it like this, 2023. And then month, May, and then date, 23. Okay, perfect. Let's change the year and see if that works. It's 2017. Okay, perfect. So it works. Then we are going to enter the total amount spent. So for this particular example, we're assuming that we purchase a stationery type item. For this example, the receipt says an indoor banner. Let's say we ordered or purchased one of these for a client. We're going to enter this as though it was a billable transaction. So the total on this receipt is $30.19. We want to make sure that we uncheck reimbursable because for this particular example, we're assuming that we use a corporate credit card. So that's billable. Let's find the category. So let's say it is advertising because it's indoor banner. I'm the only attendee. And let's say it's, let's find a quick example. Let's say American Star. Description. Test item for. All right. Now, once you have completed that, you're going to go ahead and click on the right plus icon to your screen. The green icon here. It takes you to a new screen like we've seen before. We're going to click on the green radio button that says import from computer. From here, we're going to locate our receipt. Wonderful, everything looks good. Then we are going to go ahead and hit save. Okay, now it may have been listed. I was just going to say it was probably listed at the bottom. Mainly because of the date that we entered. And so I want to go back here to this previous example just to make sure that we've also corrected the date here. Okay, here we go. So the date on this particular receipt is January 3rd of 2014. So year first, 2014. And then the month, and then the day, which is January 3rd. And then we're going to go ahead and hit save. Now you notice again that one was moved from the top because it pulls these transactions in order of date. So let's scroll down to the bottom of this page here just to make sure. So here we go. So we have the Staples receipt and we have the Burger King receipt listed. The next thing we want to make sure we do is after we have added our expense is create a report. And now the purpose of the report is so that way we can categorize and or group all of the expenses before submitting for approval. And then we'll look at that in a few. So right below expenses on the left side of your screen, you're going to navigate to reports. And then from here, we are going to the top right corner of your screen where it says new report. You notice there's a drop down here. We're going to go ahead and click new. Okay. Now, from this screen, I know it might look a little strange, but this first highlighted section here, which says name your expense report, gives us the opportunity of going in and creating a name for a report. So we can say this was, let's call this past due test report. And I'll put my name here so there's no confusion. And once you create your name for your report, the next thing you want to make sure you navigate to do is select your department. So For this example, I'm a part of the purchasing department. Else you just navigate to the next department. If you're unsure, make sure you speak with your supervisor, who will be sure to provide you with the answers for that. So I'll select purchasing. And then the next thing you want to make sure you do is add expenses. So here it says to add expense, click on the add expense button at the top of this report. So again, green radio button over here on the left side. You're going to click on that. It's going to take you to that list that we were looking at before with all of our expenses. Now it has a date range, so you want to be careful of that. Let's do a 2013 date range, just so it could capture that 2014. I'm sorry, there's a lot going on here. 2013, January 1st. Okay. Hopefully that's a long enough range to be able to capture those two old receipts that we've added. Okay, here we go. So we're gonna go ahead and click on the first one, which is Burger King. So it says there's a little pop-up message here at the bottom of your screen. It says added expense from Burger King for $15.17 to report. So it's added. And you could just go ahead and click on them as you see it fit. So the next one we're gonna add is the staples. So go ahead and click on that. And added expense from staples, $30.19, add to report. So we've added all the expenses that we need. We're gonna go ahead and close this down and see what our report looks like. Now, I must advise you there will be some violation on here, and it's obviously due to the date listed because of the example. So we're going to ignore that for now and proceed with the next step. So you just review this and make sure that all the information is correct. Notice it auto-populate the date range on the particular report based on the date on the receipts being uploaded. So it looks at the first date and it looks at the last date, and it kind of creates that range, that date range. The purchasing department, that's also correct. And it lists a little bit more information. Again, I mentioned the policy violation, and that's because of the date that's listed. But for this particular example, we're going to go ahead and complete the final stage, which is to submit for approval. And once you submit, then if there's any issues, your supervisor will reach out and assist in rectifying those issues. Now, I'm defaulted to receive a copy of this report. I'll also make sure I attach the PDF and add a little memo message just so you know what's going on. And then once you hit submit, it will submit it to your supervisor. And if there's any issues, again, they'll reach out, rectify it. If there's no issues, then it will be approved. And based on the policy, disbursements will be issued accordingly. Perfect. And once you hit submit, you will see another message which pretty much notifies you that the message was sent over to your supervisor for processing. Once it's approved, you'll see a message that says approved, etc. Now, if for any particular reason you realize that you made an error and you want to go back in to correct that, you could select undo from here, undo submit here, or undo submit here. Go back in, correct whatever that needs to be corrected, and then resubmit. All right, so that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you find this to be a very informative and useful tutorial. Bye-bye.